Hello. I need to make a theme that fades out. I don't know why I keep forgetting to do that. Probably because I keep forgetting. Welcome to Let's Make a List on KPCA LP, online at kpca.fm. Each week we choose a topic relating to movies, music, video games, books, other stuff, make lists, and discuss our picks. And if you want to get involved, you can call in any point during the show at 707-981-7577 or tweet us at Phil and Ariel. Also have email now, philandariel@gmail.com. Yeah, lots of possible ways to communicate with us. I am your host. My name is Phil, and we have a returning guest. His name is Kris. Hey, Kris.
Hi, Phil.
Hey, so I have a long list of things to talk about.
Oh, geez.
Yep. But we only got an hour. We only have got an hour. And after that, we got some music. Okay, so let's start by the big reveal, by revealing the big reveal. This is the first episode where we're going to focus on books.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it would ever happen, but it's going to happen today. And Kris, I think you came up with this topic, or did you?
Nope, you did.
Oh, okay.
You did.
But it was kind of
my challenge to you was something that's not about video games.
Okay,
basically.
yeah. So we're going to be talking about books, our top 5 favorite books that we were required to read in school, and then our one least favorite each. And so it's a little bit, I don't know what the word is, stupid of me to choose topic first one, books, talking about books that I have to warn, I did not read all of them, the 100% of all of them on my list.
Uh-huh.
All of them on my list. We basically pick like, why did you grow up hate reading? Here's why. But we'll get to that soon, not quite yet. All right, so yeah, like I said before, we're with you until 4 o'clock, and at 4 o'clock is the Vandermix. I think that's what it's called. I keep forgetting names of like I remember names, and I come on the show, I'm like, wait, I'm saying it wrong. But I'll double check that. So I apologize if I said that wrong. We've got about 57 minutes left.
But later we're going to be talking about books.
Yeah.
So.
Here we go. I'm gonna. Yes, the Vandermix.
Why did it
sound wrong? It is the Vandermix. Thank you for covering that air.
welcome.
Okay, so yeah, but okay. Thank you for sticking with us if you've made it this far. I want to bring up newsworthy information. So I read today
good job.
that the new Tarantino movie has been sold. The distribution rights, I think.
Oh.
Or something like that, or the studio's gonna pay for it, whatever. So the reports are now that it is this is according to consequenceofsound.com, or .net, sorry.
Oh, jeez.
That is going to be, I'll just read part of what they say. Film is an ensemble piece similar to Tarantino's Inglourious Basterds, set in Los Angeles circa 1969. At least a portion of the film will be about the Manson family murders. And it's going to be, people say, Deadline notes that it's similar to Pulp Fiction.
Well, okay, but that sounds like when Marilyn Manson, every album he says, this takes me back to Portrait of an American Family and Superstar.
Yeah, so, but I don't know, that if it is like a number of different stories that kind of intertwine, that would be fun,
that
especially
sounds
1969.
exactly like the right thing for him to do next.
Yeah. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
Anything Tarantino does, I think we both agree he's our favorite filmmaker, right?
Yeah.
Director and screenwriter, favorite both?
Yeah, I think so.
I think for me too.
I think Lars von Trier, maybe I'd give him better director.
Okay.
Except that it's a very different style directing.
Does he write his own movies?
Usually, yeah. But
okay.
Yeah.
Know what they should do?
No. Do you?
Yeah. They should, for every movie that's made, they should make multiple versions, so that way people can see the one they like the most.
That's a good point. Yeah, like when they greenlight like Action Movie 62 or whatever, then they just hire a number of crews to write and direct and film it and stuff, and so it's a good idea.
Be cheaper that way.
Uh-huh.
All right, I'm going to switch gears. I was going to have a sound effect for every time we switch gears, but I couldn't find one that satisfied me. I'll do this. Time to switch gears.
Are you going to do that a lot?
Yeah.
You might want to come up with a sound effect next time.
I'll record myself doing that. Then I'll put a bunch of distortion on it, and an 808 kick.
Okay,
so
good.
It's
you got
it's
this.
Going to sound like this. It's going to sound like this. It's time to switch gears. Boom.
Oh, that's pretty good. That's,
All right,
that's better than I thought it was going to be at the same time, and it was going to be a mess.
Oh no. This is public access radio, but it's still high quality.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about music for a second. I think about the music industry a lot. It sounds weird, but I think about how
you get your movie news from consequenceofsound.net.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah.
Music industry. I think a lot about how, like, I go, okay, the music industry, now that there's so many independent labels and a lot of people are releasing things not on labels, and it's like you can get, it's so much easier to acquire music, to download it and all that stuff, and there's so many more options. I go, like, it's probably better, but I still, like, very often miss how it was like 15 years ago.
Okay.
Where even though I know there were a lot less opportunities for people, and labels had such a bigger say in what was released and how things were created and stuff like that, I still am like, part of me is I maybe it's just because I'm older, I'm out of touch with how people acquire music and stuff, but I've talked about this probably on this show lots of times even, but it's really difficult for me to find good quality music now. Yeah. And maybe it was just younger, so I liked whatever people said, here, listen to this, you'll like it. I liked it or something. I don't know what it was, but I just...
a dearth of content actually, makes you appreciate what you have more. Now that it's so easy, you don't have...
Yeah.
So it's not...
That's true.
The quality of the music might not have changed. It's just that you have so much choice that you don't, like, kind of force yourself to like whatever you actually have.
It's kind of like how the same thing with television, with Netflix and Hulu and Amazon. Mm-hmm. There's so many options.
Yeah.
And it takes like so long for Errol and I usually to pick what to watch. Mm-hmm. We go through like, But if we had like 5 options, like when if we're in a hotel room and just put on TV, it's like I go through all the channels once and then I go like, cool. And then I'm pretty much happy with whatever we pick.
Yeah.
And I just like don't like that kind of goes away in a way. And like, and same with music, where now people can just download an album so easily or for free,
and also just
Spotify.
Kind of lose or throw it away too.
Yeah,
and
so they don't. For me, most albums that I like took me multiple listens to really get into it.
The first Psychic TV album I got, I just was like, whoops.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have bought that without hearing it first.
Yep.
And they became one of my top 5 bands.
I didn't know that. I would have guessed top 15, but I thought that.
You might be right. There are a lot of number ones on that list.
Yeah. Psychic TV is probably number 1.
Yeah. Sometimes.
Because I remember we get like allowance, we get like $5 a week. And so I could either wait like 3 weeks and have enough to buy an album. Mm-hmm. This is after I would spend all my money on action figures. Mm-hmm. And I'd either wait a few weeks or I'd go, like, someone was going to the Warehouse or Borders or whatever, Tower. And I go like, I can get like 3 or 4 singles with $5. And I get it. And then like, I would listen to that and the remixes and the instrumental versions like over and over again. I remember like had like a whole maxi single. I think it was the first 9 Inch Nails CD I got.
Okay.
And it was like 10 tracks, I think, and there's like 3 songs and then remixes of them.
I'm not even sure that. It's like Down at It and had like a whole. And
I think Terrible Lie, maybe. Oh, maybe I don't remember.
But yeah, that there was not a whole lot of variety on that, and it was long.
Yeah, and for me that was like an album.
Okay.
For me, it was just like I'd listen to the whole thing, and I go, I feel like let's do it again. It was. Part of it was just you're younger and you're like, oh, there's something that I own that's mine that I personally chose.
Right.
But I still, like, I get with vinyl records, there's still, I get that feeling some where it's like I can only listen to it in certain places and stuff.
Right.
But I like the places that have the best speakers and everything are not the record player. So
Okay, yeah.
Whenever I buy a record, I want to be able to download the MP3s also.
Yeah.
But I can't remember exactly where I was going with this, but
Good old days.
Yeah, it's weird how I feel like I don't know, but I need focus. I need something to really focus on to try to find stuff. Like the other day when I was going, I need to find Bay Area bands I like because then I can go to shows more and stuff, and there just aren't many that I know of. So that at least gave me some kind of focus, and then so I could go through things. But if I just go like music that it's so tough sometimes to really know where to even start, and I feel like I wonder if people, they don't even like settling with music now, like younger people. It's just that's what they know and that's what they hear.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it was probably the same for us when we were younger, where we would just, that's what MTV would play.
Right.
And then we go to concerts to see some of those bands and the openers we'd like.
Right.
So it's, I don't know, maybe, it's just something I think about a lot, where I don't know what I prefer and what is actually better.
I certainly don't have that same... I'm so glad it's the way it is now, so then I can actually find the things that I like to listen to, because they, but I do understand that kind of romanticized feeling of, in the past, these things were real and they mattered and you knew each one and all that kind of thing, that I think, sometimes worked well and sometimes worked poorly, and it just I understand that kind of feeling about it,
and I can still find that feeling by buying an album and going, I'm going to listen to the whole thing and actively, and which I try to do now as much as I can, and it does make the listening experience better. But I don't know, like, do you think now, for in your preference, it's the best?
For me, yes, just because I think there's a lot of pop music that's now probably worse because it's kind of being made knowing that it's not going to make a huge amount of money and it's not going to have much permanence. I'm not saying nearly all. I'm just saying there's a lot that's that way. And then there's also, I don't know, but then there's, if the really niche stuff is so much more accessible now than it has been when I was trying to get it, and it was like going to Berkeley to get the new Coil album was like, I gotta find a way to get there.
Yep. I think part of me still, now that we have driver's licenses, I think part of me likes that, where I go, ooh, I can only get it that way. Like there are albums that come out and be like, I want to get the physical copy, and I want that to be the first time I listen to it. Because sometimes when you download it and own it and you pay for it and you like a lot, but then when this physical copy comes out, it's like, I already own it. I don't know if I spent $10. It's like I should. It's just a thing in my head, but I don't know. One more thing to say about that. Let's see if I remember it before I finish this sentence.
I mistook that for the changing gears sound.
Oh no, sorry. Don't. It'll be very clear when we change gears. I had one more thing to say. Did I make a note? No. Okay. All right. Time to change gears.
I get it now.
Should we get to the list?
Sure.
All right. Should have checked with you before I changed gears. All right. So our list, we said before, books that we were required to read in school. I included college.
I did too, but I don't know that
college book. It's different because it's such a variety of, like, when people go to college. I don't. People who weren't in the same class as me, that's very unlikely that they were assigned the same books to read. Where in high schools, it's very likely we're all assigned the same. So I have some of mine that were in high school, but some college. And I'll just talk about it now. A lot of the books, like I went through lists of like most commonly required books for school, stuff just to remind me. And it was like, I was going, this is... it's different for everyone, but for me, it was like, oh yeah, look at all these books. This is why I hated reading until I was like 20.
Yeah.
And I know that there were, because all these books were just like, the stories just did not interest me at all. And there would be times you could pick your own book. Sometimes they give you a list to choose from, and still it was like none of them I cared about. But then I remember going, oh, what are things I want to read about? and I'd be like, I want to read about the Golden State Warriors. And I'd go to the library and there wouldn't be a book about that. I'd be like, what? There's books about everything. There's not a book about that. And so I really did not know how to search for things that I wanted to read about when I was younger. And so I just could not focus on these books. And so most books that we were assigned, all books I attempted to read, but there were definitely times where I'd spend half an hour on one page, could not focus, could not do it. And I don't know if that's like, I don't know how, I'm assuming that's common for many students, and I'm guessing there's a wide range. Like for some people that is like they cannot read and focus on at all, and some people there's just every once in a while it happens because it depends on what book I'm reading.
Yeah.
But so books that stood out are ones I was able to focus on.
Okay.
For the most part.
Yeah.
And there are reasons why, like looking back, the only books I can remember reading and actually enjoying when I was younger were Goosebumps books.
Okay, yeah.
They were simple. They were like kind of scary topics, but they weren't actually scary. Mm-hmm. They had usually a picture on the front. I liked that, so I had something that was in my head, like with colors and stuff while I'm reading. It's like a lot of the books. I was looking at a lot of these classics that we had to read in school.
Such disdain.
Yeah, I know. I am monopolizing conversation. Sorry.
Sure show.
But a lot of these, a lot of the covers, even I go, it's so boring, and I wonder if that's just because the book was so boring to me. But I think also when I was younger, the covers are boring, and I went into the book going, this is gonna be boring.
Yeah,
and I. And same thing with go back to music, switching gears a little bit. I like to have art so I can see, because that gives me something in my head that makes it seem more substantial, I guess. I don't know. So yeah, do you have yours in order?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Me too. So do you want to start? I think we should do countdown go from 5 to 1. Okay. But then after 2, go to our least favorite, and then our favorite.
That sounds good.
Do you have anything else about all these books that you want to say before we start?
Then I'm curious how many of my top 5 are going to be ones that you're like, really? I could not read more than a page of that. And secondly,
really? Do you think I've heard of all of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You've probably read most of a lot of them. Going through, I didn't hate reading like you did in school, but the going through the list of books that I read in school, at least that I could remember, about half of them I totally liked. So
really? That's awesome.
So this is gonna be a different type of choosing my least. Well, we'll get there. When we get there, we'll get there.
Do you think are there books that you because there are books that you've reread since then, probably.
Only a couple of these.
I think I'm pretty sure, before you say your number 1 and we get to our 2s, I want to guess, because I think I know your number 1 is.
I think you do too, and I have no idea what yours is.
I have no idea what your worst ones are. You want to go first?
Sure.
All right, your number 5.
The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck.
Grapes of Wrath. The book that, when you talk about your number 1, I'll talk about it, but I remember trying to read that. That's when we were required. I understood the premise of the book. I was able to get that far.
Yeah.
I'm almost sure I didn't get even halfway through.
This one leads right into my first caveat about this whole list is my memory is awful, and my memory for things I've read is just the worst part of my memory. So these are like, I'm going like, I love that book. I have something about dirt, I think.
Yeah.
This one I didn't remember a whole lot about, but
dirt was the first thing. Yeah.
But it was I just remember this one feeling so real, and it was like a easy read because everything just, more than most books I read, it just like it went into my head and felt like it was a real thing that happened, almost like a memory, instead of feeling like I have to remember who all these characters are and all that stuff. And it was just so human and just like, it was just awful and honest, and it it kind of showed me like, no, humans are animals, and they need water, and so you get to and all this stuff that's just like so obvious once you notice it, and it kind of made history real for me in a way.
Okay. It's about the Great Dust Bowl, right?
Yeah.
And people like trying to get work and searching for...
and like just like going like, we'll get to California and it'll be okay, and then it's not.
Yep.
I'm not worried about spoilers with this list. Most of these books are very old.
Yeah.
But this was just for me, I don't remember it very well, but I do remember it just being like an actual, like, every page I cared about what was going on instead of it feeling like an assignment. It was an easy
That's pretty cool.
read for me.
Do you know how that wouldn't be considered? Would that be historical fiction?
I don't know how that.
Yeah.
I'd say yes, but that's a weird. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. That is one that is on my list of books that I remember being assigned.
Okay. Good.
My number 5 is The Pearl by John Steinbeck.
Hey.
Here's the thing. I don't remember anything about it.
Me neither. That's why I didn't put it on my list.
This is so lame why it's number 5, but this shows you how much I struggled with reading.
Yeah.
It was a short book that I read in one sitting.
Okay, good job.
And we were assigned it, and it was like the weekend before we had to write a paper or something. And that Saturday, I was like, I'm just going to read it. And I sat down and read the whole thing, and I was able to focus.
Yeah.
Probably because I knew it was short. Mm-hmm. And then I finished it, and I was like, I remember what happened. And I wrote about it, and it went well.
Yeah. I know I've read that book, and I think I've probably read it twice because I think it was something that just like in one ear out the other, and it's like, oh, a test, I should read that again.
Yeah.
But it's like I made a list of all the books I remember reading, and there are a handful of them that I go like, yeah, I know I read that, but I'm not putting it on the list, and that was one of them because I really truly have no memory of what it was.
I
don't like someone was diving for pearls, right?
That honestly, that's
the best I can do.
It makes me think of the bed I had when I was that old, because I was going like, I remember the blanket and being like, oh, this is comfortable, and I'm reading, this is nice, and it's not too hot.
Yeah.
As we're talking, I'm gonna look up what it's about real quick, just to like a one sentence thing. The Pearl. Wait, that's not right. That's a comic book. Sorry. But yeah, please. What is your number 4?
Speaking of short, I'm picking Macbeth for number 4. I checked with you. It's okay that I picked a play. Macbeth is the first Shakespeare anything I read that I was able to read like a book and actually follow it along and actually care about it, and that made it so much easier to realize all the little subtleties of subtext and all that stuff that were just like dripping off of every sentence in there. This is one of those like, oh, I get why Shakespeare's popular and famous now, and I think the reason that is because it's like his shortest play or something like that. It's very short, and the story is definitely on the surface, and so it's easier to read and whatever. Maybe it was right age or whatever. It's not my favorite Shakespeare play that I read in high school, but it is. I put it on this list instead of the others because it was so important in making me realize and making Shakespeare easy from then on.
Okay.
And there's still plenty of stuff he says that I have no idea what it is, but you just kind of can manage to get the gist and then find hidden depths of meaning in there is really rewarding for me.
I don't have any Shakespeare on my list. We did not read that. We read Hamlet and Romeo and Juliet.
I read both those too, yeah.
Romeo and Juliet, because I already kind of knew the story beforehand, it was a little easier to follow, but I had trouble reading those with understanding what was being said.
Reading Romeo and Juliet for me it doesn't work for me.
Okay.
I've seen a few different adaptations of it, and it works really well now, and I like it, but I did not like that one in school very much.
Okay. I don't remember when we were assigned it. Did it have like all the stage directions and everything? It was just the play.
I mean, it had the stage directions, but there really wasn't much in the way of stage directions on. I mean, it was assuming it was basically just the words, but there's this guy leaves, this guy comes in, this guy's wearing a whatever. But there wasn't really much, I think, in any of the original writings of these. But I think they also had, though, the opposite page of the text was like this word means this, and kind of.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Try to explain the references and stuff.
We had those when we did it. I remember those existing
because I know that I think every Shakespeare play I read in high school had that, which was very helpful.
I think part of me was probably this episode does not make me seem like a good smart student, but I think if we had that where it had both things, I was probably going, we're only required to read the play. I'm not going to even, it was kind of like any words I didn't have to read. I was like, I'm not going to even try. All right. By the way, I looked up the plot of the Pearl. The 1 sentence description is too boring for me to talk about. And it has words in there I can't pronounce. My number 4 is 1984.
Okay.
That was tough for me to read. We read it in high school, but it was one where I wanted to know how it ended, and I wanted to know what's going on. I think I followed it pretty well until the end, and I think I remember getting a little, I don't know, just fatigue from all that from reading or what, but I remember getting a little bit lost at the end. But that's when it actually was going, oh, this is interesting. Seems to have more to say than other stuff we read, and it seems like it's obvious what kind of messages there are and stuff, and it didn't seem as just to me.
Yeah,
I don't know that's
it didn't seem like just a historical curiosity that we're supposed to read. It actually had we ran into an issue that I did not expect to have happen. That what our list has the same, even though with the same pool of very small pool of books, there's one in our top 5 or both of our top 5s, I think.
Hey, nice.
So I'm not going to talk about this one yet right now.
I have a list of, at the end we can talk about books that most people I talked to were assigned certain books to read that I was not assigned, and I'm curious if you were.
Okay, yeah.
So there are a lot of books that aren't even eligible for my list. 1984. I want them to make another movie.
That's
the one that they made I thought was really boring.
Yeah,
but in the right hands, I'm a little surprised that there hasn't been another one made. Over
but there have been
15, 20 years.
Yeah, that's true. But there's also, it does feel like they should have, there's been a lot of PG-13 1984-esque teen movies that have come out lately, and I guess there's maybe it seemed like there would just be, here's a hard R-rated version of that for everybody now. But yeah, I don't know.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. The Mark Twain.
That is...
Oh, we have 2?
No, that is a honorable mention.
Okay. This one is kind of... It's the only Mark Twain book I read. I was forced to read in high school, or in school at all. And it was infinite... I mean, instantly just... I enjoyed reading it and started, so I just immediately was like, oh yeah, no, he's one of my favorite writers now, and went off to read other things, and right afterwards. Still haven't read. Oh no, I did read Tom Sawyer a few years ago.
How many books are in that world? Do you know? With their
I think just the 2.
Do you know which one comes first?
Tom Sawyer's a kid's book, and then this one is Huckleberry Finn actually starts out going hey, you might know me from.
Oh okay.
Yeah.
I can't remember which one. I think we read Huck Finn, but we might have read Tom Sawyer. I'm not sure.
A lot of people did in school. I never got assigned that. But yeah, the Mark Twain's Letters from Earth and his Adam and Eve's Diaries things are amongst my favorite things I've read, and this is definitely the book that if we weren't assigned this, I would probably have never really even noticed.
For another thing that pertains to all these, every book except for a couple of them that I read in college, every book I went into going, ugh,
yeah,
this is gonna suck.
Yeah.
And
I kind of did that too, I think.
Okay.
I think, yeah, because it would always be, here's a new thing we have to start, and it's someone else had to choose it and all that stuff. But then there were a few books that just... I think all the books on my list are just ones that immediately, probably first sentence, I go, oh, this one's different.
That's cool.
And I don't know if it was the book or me, but it was, yeah. And all these are very much that Oh, I'm glad they picked this because
That's cool.
I'm actually going to read it.
Huck Finn, I remember, or Tom Sawyer, whichever one I read. That's one where I could follow the story, and there were some interesting things that actually felt like an adventure in some ways, where a lot of books don't at all.
Yeah.
This one actually felt like, ooh, they're doing some interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Basically, if I could picture it as a movie,
Okay,
I probably
yeah,
like
yeah,
it.
yeah.
That reminds me. A lot of the books I also read when I was younger were adaptations of movies.
Yes, you did read a lot of those.
Yeah, because I could have again something
Yeah.
as a foundation. I can picture these characters. This is the world.
Yeah.
It was weird how I needed something to focus on. I don't know, it's weird, but I needed something to focus on that I already knew a little bit to get me into that.
Yeah,
I think.
and I have a one of the hard parts of reading for me is just remembering who's who and the characters, and so anything that has even if I haven't seen the movie or whatever, reading a book and picturing an actor that was assigned that role helps a lot in terms of just getting over that hump of comprehending what the story is telling me.
Just so people know, since college I've read lots of books.
He's a good reader now. He reads more than I do.
I lately, ever since smartphones, I haven't been reading nearly as much as I wanted to.
We just returned. Did you read any of the books?
I've read parts of them, but
so
no.
we went to the library and
I renewed them
returned books.
twice.
Okay.
I would have renewed them again, but I couldn't. So yeah, that was your number 3?
Yeah.
I would have guessed that would have been your number 2. Now I feel like an idiot.
That makes a lot of sense. It's just I don't remember this one as much as I remember other Mark Twain stuff that I read that I wasn't assigned.
Oh. Next, my number 3 is we're going to college, Kite Runner.
Ooh.
That was the last fiction book I think I read.
Like from then till now, you mean?
Yes.
Weird.
I don't think I've read a fiction novel
Interesting.
since then. I liked it. I got emotionally involved with it. Again, easy to follow. There's still parts of it that stick in my head. They go like, "Oh, that scene was," or "This scene."
Okay, yeah.
It's one of those where it feels kind of like I saw a movie, even though there is a movie I didn't see it, but it definitely was like, "Oh, that was a good story."
Yeah, that was on. I know that I was assigned that, and I read it. Another one I have literally even less.
Okay, you were assigned it?
Yeah, in high school, and
really? Okay.
And I know I read it. I have zero idea what it like. I literally don't know anything about it.
Okay, wait,
but I did read it.
I feel like that was newer than that, though.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking of a different book then.
Let me see when it came out. The book came out in 2003.
I did not read that in high school. I do not. That
don't know.
Hopefully, that explains why I don't know anything about it.
Because this one, because that came out my senior year.
Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking.
Read it in, I think third year college. Something
Thank
like
you
that.
for catching that.
You're welcome. But I could totally see that. It has a title that would be like, oh, we probably read that book because it. It was a really popular book when it came out. I remember, and it was. I mean, I actually.
And it was just like a book you read, and you liked reading it.
Yeah.
Did you have a whole lot of having to,
write about it? And stuff? Yeah, we had some. It was actually an English teacher I had for 2 English classes in college. I actually liked a lot, where most of the stuff we'd read were essays or short stories, and we basically the class was structured where we'd each read it, and then we come to class and we'd talk about different parts of it and how to. There were usually a few different essay kind of prompts that we could choose from and work around, and so we discuss as a class and we debate things and stuff like that, and that just worked for me, where it was just like each time it was really like we spent like a month on each thing basically. In Kite Runner we spent a little bit more time on and we just discussed it in class and different themes, and then I think we just had to write one paper about it.
And so there wasn't a whole lot of stress involved,
right? It was
and then you just swore off fiction from then on.
I've attempted to read some. I've read parts of them. I've read part of a Neil Gaiman book that I was like, yeah, this seems cool. I can't focus. And probably Smothers, but I don't know. Smothers. Brothers Smothers. All right, that was my number 3.
So my number 2 is 1984 by George Orwell. This is like probably one of the this is another one where it just instantly oh nope, I'm reading this book instead of just trying to pass the test. And it probably one of the most influential in terms of just how my thinking evolved afterwards, and how I saw power structures and all that stuff, and how I thought about things. But it was also just at the time just infuriating to read, because it's such a it feels like it was kind of like a real life lampshading of the issue. Like, it was people just go like, hey, so here's this book about this stuff. Now that we know about it, we don't have to do anything about it happening in the real world. And it was one of those, like, I felt bad that it was being relegated to literature for school instead of actual things that people could talk and think about.
I see it. It's weird how I kind of looked at it a little bit the other way, where I was going like, oh, I'm surprised that they're having people read this in school. That's cool that they are.
Yeah, but I didn't think of it as like...
Yeah,
and I think it just makes people consider it fiction and not really think about it in real world terms. They think about it in critical terms, like for what's going to be on the test, and how can I, all that stuff that just makes it seem less applicable to real life.
Do you feel like it would be more suited for like a college class, where it'd be like,
I don't know. I mean, the college has that
more discussion based, maybe.
But even more discussion based, it's still in that I can't think of the word, the mindset of reacting to a work rather than like doing the math.
Okay, I get what you mean.
But it's one of the few books on my list that I don't want to reread. That it's too close to home.
Hey, we're getting a call. I forgot that we can even do that. All right, are you ready?
Yeah.
Getting a phone call.
Oh, you're all flashy.
1 second. Hello, thanks for calling. Let's make a list. You're on KPCA.
Hey, I happen to know that you, Phil, the host.
That's me.
You write fiction. So how do you reconcile that? You don't read it, but you...
I like it in movies. I think with reading, I feel like I need something... I need to feel like I'm learning something important. I don't know. Like, that's not true, because I read biographies of people who are just like, I was in a movie. But maybe it just... I don't know what it is. Maybe if something isn't based in reality, I just, with reading, it's tougher for me to get myself to care about it. I don't know, because they have movies and TV shows, fiction, video games, no problem getting into. So I don't know what it is.
Is it something you want something visual to hang it on? It's what it seems like, because all these books, you know what the people look like.
Yeah, so it totally could be that. I wonder if it's one of those things where if I go like, oh, there's a movie about the same thing, or I can see a movie that does just... I don't really know, but I know that that's the way it is.
Did you say you read Goosebumps books?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. Of course, I could have checked before I called it. I didn't think of it then. That I think that the Goosebumps author writes grown-up books too.
Oh, R.L. Stine. I know he wrote some for like preteens and teens. I like Fear Street or some of those. I read those. I remember liking those too.
He also
wrote.
Anyway, so I guess you just have to get to Stephen King or something next.
Oh, there are Stephen King books I've read I like, but that was before that. I totally forgot about Stephen King books. We weren't assigned any in school, but I liked Christine.
Oh, yeah.
I liked The Long Walk, I think it was called. Thinner. There are Stephen King books I read I liked. I wonder if I would enjoy those now. Or I might just be like, I'd rather just watch a scary movie. I don't know.
I'm listening to your discussion. I'm going like, I wonder why that is, because I didn't like reading either. I'm wondering if it has to do with because it's forced on us. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, just a curious question about
it's a good question.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Thanks for calling.
Show.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
That was nice.
It was nice. We're back.
It's always nice. We never left, by the
way. People can hear that.
Yeah.
We're talking about 1984.
Yeah.
And I think
we talked about it. It's done. We've said it all.
All right. My number 2.
Sure, yeah.
This is one in high school, and I remember. I think it might be the only book I've read that actually made me tear up.
You tore it up?
Tear.
Oh.
No. I've read some other ones, but the only one in school that made me tear up at all.
Okay.
Night. Do you remember
Okay, that's
about people going in the concentration camp in the Holocaust?
Yeah.
And there was
I don't know
true
if
story.
I ever read that.
Someone wrote about their own experience.
Yeah.
And it was rough.
Yeah.
I think it was a pretty short book also, which made it easier. But it was like growing up we learned about concentration camps and the Holocaust and how horrible it was. But this was one of those things when it's like, oh, this really shows how the actual personal suffering and all that.
Right.
All those horrible things that went on. So it was interesting, and it was that's one that stuck with me.
It made history real for you.
Yeah,
because I think I had a similar thing with Grapes of Wrath, and that actually made me think. Like I think Grapes of Wrath was one of those books that made me realize my brain works much better with stories rather than lists of facts and things. So even fictionalized history is so much more it's so much better understood and absorbed by me than just like here's what happened. It doesn't. So I think that's the same kind of like. I think I read Night. Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. But it seems like that it also had that like. Here's an actual story of it instead of just a list of things that happen.
Does make a big difference.
Yeah.
My favorite history teachers are ones who would tell things as stories and stuff, and that makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Are we gonna do worst things ever to happen to us in high school now?
Yep. Okay. By the way, all these books are probably available at your local library.
That's true. Some of them are public domain, and you can get them online. Whatever you want to do.
I haven't been saying the authors, but you can look it up easily.
Yeah.
Excuse me. All right, I can say my least favorite first.
Okay, then switch it up.
There are two. This is tough. I have three, and I've made up my mind, and I've changed it since we started the show. But it's really tough. Okay, can you say yours first?
Mine is a little bit. Anyway, I'm gonna bother some people. I think mine is Pride and Prejudice.
Okay, that's one of my three.
That I dislike so much that I feel like I must have misunderstood it. Especially since it has such a following in by the same people that it seems to ridicule constantly. Mm-hmm. It just seems so anti-feminist, and it's also, and then there's tons of feminist writing using it as a source of early feminism and stuff like that, and I just really truly don't get it.
Is it totally a satire maybe?
It's like kind of, but it also like, I mean, it's like ironic, but then it just commits to it and never, like, as far as I remember, never like shows that. It's like, it seems like it keeps leading up to a punchline or something that never comes. Yeah. And maybe it does. Maybe I just was so out of it by the end, but it seems like a book designed to fail the Bechdel test.
Okay.
Like it's just nothing but women are frivolous and stupid. And then there's like a couple male characters that go, "You're frivolous and stupid," and it's like that just makes it more sexist.
Yeah, because I remember trying to read that. I probably got through about half of it, and thinking, I did not even consider it being like, and there being any irony or anything like that reading it. But it might just been because my age. But also, that was one where I was like, I don't care about anything that's going on, and the teachers, I felt like the way they tried to get us like interested was like, this shows how times were different basically, and how different social structures and social contracts and how people react in different situations, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm just was like, I just don't care about any of this at all.
It's we just got a text that confirms it is definitely a satire, and yes, but it doesn't seem to have a point to it. It goes like, and it seems to be loved by people that that treat it like it's a romantic book, like Twilight. It reminds me of Twilight, where it's just this very like, it seems like people don't get the joke, or it's I don't know. It's that I don't feel qualified to. I talked about this with Stuart the other day because I do not feel qualified to judge this book at all. But boy, did it not work for me.
This text we got. It's about a woman that makes her own choices, confronts a man who treats her poorly, who then must examine his own behavior toward her. Satire about a culture written within its own time.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I said, no, Twilight is so bad.
Well, also, just the writing in this has moments of really great wit and some stuff that's just like, oh my god, I like English, stop doing this. But that's just me. I want to read a couple things that Mark Twain said about Jane Austen.
Okay.
Just to anger people more. I'm not saying I agree with these, I just think it's funny. He says, she makes me detest all her people without reserve. Is that her intention? It's not believable. Then is her purpose to make the reader detest her people up to the middle of the book and then like them in the rest of the chapters? That would be high art. It would be worthwhile too. Someday I will examine the other end of her books and see. Also, he says, Jane Austen, why I go so far as to say that any library is a good library that does not contain a volume by Jane Austen, even if it contains no other book. And then one last thing, he says, it seems a great pity that they allowed her to die a natural death. Which is like, jeez. Yeah, wow. He had more of a grudge against her than I do. But it's one of those books that I read the first few chapters again last night, and it's like obviously ironic, but like it seems to be like almost like just like honestly ironic, and it's weird. Okay. And I don't feel like I read it right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll say another one though, because that one I was considering, but this book does not deserve the title of worst book, but for me it's the go-to book of that was the most boring part of my life. Uh-huh. I felt like we spent forever on this book. It doesn't matter. Island of Blue Dolphins.
This is interesting.
Okay.
For a slight dumb reason.
I don't remember what it's about. I don't remember anything. I remember being so bored, and it felt like I spent all of elementary school reading that book and watched a movie about it, and it was even more boring than the book. I should have looked up to see what the story is. I'm like, oh, that might be a great story that is really important to read. For me, that is the go-to boring. I was talking about this with Stuart the other day. He brought that book up. I think not necessarily in the sense that he loved it, but like that really he got invested and like he started making his own island maps and stuff after reading that book. Oh, really?
So like I think that was one he picked as just like, yeah, I was able to read that one.
It says here.
I think he said that might be the only book he read in high school.
Oh, really? Okay, well that was one that it was I think a children's novel.
Yeah.
So I think we read it like right after we learned how to read. Yeah, it's about a young girl who's stranded alone on island. I remember that.
He talked about it for a little while. He remembers it.
That's cool. That's good.
Yeah.
For me, it was just again, maybe it was the first like chapter book we had to read, like longer, like novel we read. Yeah. So maybe that's why. And I went, oh, reading is not something I like. Uh-huh. So I apologize. I don't apologize that much because I could have chosen another book, but yeah. All right. So let's go back to the positive.
Okay.
All right. I'll say mine because
you know what mine is.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. But yours is Great Gatsby.
Yeah.
Yep. Which movie version do you like more?
I like the Baz Luhrmann one quite a bit. I don't like it the same way I like the book, but I like
I liked it more than I thought I would. I enjoyed it.
But this book is just like the most easily rereadable book I've ever read.
I remember when we were assigned it because I knew that you liked it at that point, so I tried harder to get into it. And again, it was school and I couldn't, I couldn't focus. But Oh, yeah, I like that that
Well,
Baz Luhrmann movie.
Uh-huh.
Or Baz
Well,
Luhrmann, excuse me.
Yeah, I just I love the aesthetic of the 20s where you could basically like you could be a rebel by like dressing cool.
Okay.
And it was like that was considered like obscene and crazy, and you wouldn't have to, kill anybody to be cool. So that's just the backdrop of that. But then it's such a it's like the American dream just gone like, here is what it is, and he ends up dead at the end. And it's just one of those like, you manage to put so much stuff into such an obvious like mythological meaning into everything, and also just have it be about this guy.
Okay.
And mostly I really enjoy reading it every time.
That was written by
Fitzgerald.
What? F. Scott Fitzgerald. Have you
Yeah.
read any other F. Scott Fitzgerald books?
I've tried to read Tenders of the Night, but I haven't
Never heard of it.
worked it into it. I haven't worked up to it again because it was during that time in high school where I was having the hardest time concentrating and stuff, and I just could not get through it. But I look forward to trying again.
Nice. Are you ready for the most embarrassing question I've ever asked on the show?
Yeah.
F. Scott Fitzgerald, or man or woman?
He's a man.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
I know the
Yeah.
name. I just realized it.
Yeah. I don't know what the F stands for, though. It's not female. I'm positive.
Okay. All right. My number
I'm
one.
really surprised I have no guess about what your number one is.
That's because it's a book I don't think you've heard of. I don't think anyone who's listening has heard of. Maybe Ariel, because I've talked about it.
Okay.
This is a book called Earth Odyssey.
Okay.
And it's a book about, it's a nonfiction book we read in college in physical geography class.
Okay.
And it's about a guy who traveled around to different countries measuring pollution.
Okay.
And seeing what countries are doing, what happened to create the pollution basically, and what they were doing to fight that if they were doing something, and how it affected people where they lived and like their neighborhoods and stuff. And it was like a travel book. And even though it was traveling, talking about like sad stuff, but it was also, because it was written in parts with like, now like this part of China, this part of the US, things like that. It was just very easy for me to focus on. I felt like I was learning, and I was like, I could picture these places he's talking about, and it was just actually really interesting. Whereas it was maybe one of the first times where I really felt like I got, not the first time, but it's a good job of seeing how other cultures and countries go about, and how it's different than how we do it. And it did a good job of going like, because again, you grow up and you see like, oh, these places are very heavy polluters, or they're whatever, and you just think they're bad because they do that. This is such a good job of going, this is what has led to them doing this way, and this is, and it's not just like everybody here is like, okay, we're polluting everything, and that includes parts of the U.S. and everything. But it just, I felt it was one of those that I actually recommended to a few people to read.
Okay, yeah.
But I forgot the name of it for years. I had the book and I lost
one
it.
to come up with.
And then I found it at Copperfield's down the street, outside on the sale books, and I took a picture of it. And so I looked through my phone, because I forgot the name. I looked through my phone and found it from like 2 years ago. I took the picture.
Yeah.
Yep, that's number one.
That's interesting. And it sounds just like that's the kind of, even more pop culture oriented, but the same kind of book that you just continued reading.
Yep.
I want to apologize again to anybody who likes Pride and Prejudice. I'm still trying on that one. I'll get there eventually, or not, but I'll be more convinced that I'm right. I don't think I'm right now.
I apologize to all authors, because I probably insulted every book I've ever seen. Okay, we have like 5 minutes. I want to do this quick game.
Okay.
I'm going to say something. You're going to have to tell me which X-Files character said this quote, or is it a quote from the show Rugrats?
Okay.
X-Files or Rugrats, and if it's X-Files, which character?
Yeah, I have to hopefully remember their names.
All right. Some are going to be easier than others.
Yeah.
Sorry, nobody down here but the FBI's most unwanted.
That was Mulder.
Nice. Anyone
from the
else?
X-Files.
Anyone else miss those sippy cups?
I'm going to say Rugrats.
Nice.
Okay, good.
Loss of freedom does funny things to a man.
It's X-Files. I mean, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember when it happened. Oh man.
Loss of freedom does funny things to a man.
I'm gonna guess that's the cigarette smoking man.
That's Deep Throat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that wasn't too bad then.
It's very cool. I've always figured that dreams are answers to questions we haven't figured out how to ask yet.
Yeah. Is that Mulder's? I mean, is Scully's sister?
It's just Mulder.
It is.
Apparently, I should have wrote down what episode, but I didn't. Sorry.
That's okay. That's interesting. I know that quote. I just couldn't remember who said it.
Really? I thought everyone. Excuse me. Really? I thought everybody wet the bed once in a while.
I think that's Rugrats.
Yep, it was Chucky.
Sounds like him.
Looking for extreme possibilities makes you blind to the probable explanation right in front of you.
Is that Scully?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're just in case I forgot to go potty, but my daddy says they're definitely different from diapers.
I think that's Rugrats.
Yep, it's Chucky.
I want to come up with a way that would totally work in this episode, though.
LSDM. Obviously, you haven't read our August edition of TLG.
Say it again.
LSDM. Obviously, you haven't read our August edition of TLG.
Oh, that was what's his name? Melvin Frohike.
It was one of the
Lone Gunman.
Yeah, it's Langley is what I had.
Oh, it's okay. I had the wrong one. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. When I was 18, I went to Vietnam. I wasn't drafted, Mulder. I enlisted in the Marine Corps the day of my 18th birthday.
Skinner?
Yep.
Okay.
A lot of the Skinner quotes, it's very easy to picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, we wet the bed all the time.
I mean, there are a couple times I could see that happen. I'm gonna say Rugrats.
Yep.
Okay.
So what are we supposed to charge him with? Assaulting a cellular phone?
That oh man, I don't know who it was. I'm pretty sure that's X-Files, and
while you're thinking, I'm talking about this because X-Files comes back in January.
Yeah.
Yep. Sorry, please.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yep.
That felt sponsored, but it wasn't.
That's what I'm talking about.
And there's a Rugrats comic coming out too. So.
Oh, really? Okay.
I'm gonna say Mulder.
Scully. Reassigning them to other areas seems to have only strengthened their determination. Scully's a problem, a much larger problem than you described.
At the beginning of that, I really was thinking it was a babysitter. Is that Cigarette Smoking Man?
That's Krychek.
Oh, I should have gotten that. I should have been getting all of these.
Let it go, Agent Mulder.
That's Skinner.
Yep, good job. The agent before it was helped. If it just Lego Mulder, then it might have been Scully. Did not. It's biologically impossible for girls to be. Sorry, let me start again. I bet you already know. Did not. It's biologically impossible for girls to fart.
I can't remember her name from Rugrats though.
It's Rugrats. Lil.
Okay.
There's
no,
Phil
I was wrong
Lil.
about the character though. In my head.
All right. I'm not sure. I don't see if the host of our next show is here, so I'm not sure. But stick around because they're very well maybe in just a minute. Another episode of the Vandermix here on KPCA. Chris, that's the end of the show.
Okay.
I had more stuff.
Do you need me to fill time?
That's good. No.
Okay.
Do you have anything you need to say?
I want to give a shout out to what's it called? One second. This is super important.
If it's Trump,
to 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez as being maybe not the worst book I've ever read in high school in school, but just bored the heck out of me from page 1 to the very end, and it's like 400 pages or something. It's just,
Oh, real quick. I don't think I've heard of it. One book that I feel like everyone read but me was Of Mice and Men. I was never assigned that. All right, there we go.
Yeah, we did it.
Okay, thank you everyone for listening. Again, if you have any questions, comments about the show or the station, email the station at kpca@pca.tv. Go online at kpca.fm, which you're probably already at, to see the schedule of lots of shows, music, talk, news, politics, other stuff. If you want to listen to this show and past episodes of Let's Make a List, you can go on YouTube and just search Let's Make a List KPCA or Phil and Ariel KPCA, and it should pop up. Soon, sometime they will be archived on the KPCA website. that is all. Take care, everyone, and yeah, I'll talk to you guys another time soon. Bye bye.